should be great. And then our November event will be Succeed in the Global Workplace. So we'll send out more information about those two events over email in the next couple of weeks. Somebody asked, oh, where can I find the recording of this session? So we'll post it onto the WTA San Jose webpage and also the College of Graduate Studies webpage. If you go to our international students page, you should be able to find it. And again, my name is Julia Dunn. I didn't introduce myself, and I am a graduate enrollment support specialist for the College of Graduate Studies. My colleague, Carrie McKnight, is a career counselor for graduate students over in the SJSU Career Center. So she's going to be leading us through our session today. Carrie, do you want to say a few words about what you do?
Yeah, thank you. Welcome, everyone. Thank you, Julia. Again, I'm Carrie McKnight. I'm a career counselor who works with graduate students. And what that means is I'm the liaison to the College of Graduate Studies. So I work with all graduate students in terms of helping students with career advising, preparing resumes, searching for jobs, internships, etc. And I'll talk more about how you can connect with me for individualized appointments today. And I'm really excited that you're all here. And as Julia mentioned, we have some upcoming programming for you this fall semester. And our intention really is here to help all of you who are joining us remotely around the world to start to feel connected to San Jose State. And my role, again, in the Career Center, working with Julia, is to really help you start thinking about your career planning, your career goals. So we decided to put together this Get Career Ready series, again, to help you kind of start thinking about your career planning and then what we can do for you as far as the Career Center and the College of Graduate Studies to help you prepare for your career. Then hopefully we'll see you someday in person on the campus at San Jose State and continue to work with you going forward in your graduate program. So if there's any other questions, I think a couple housekeeping things, if you don't mind, all of you keeping yourselves muted, just to avoid a lot of extra noise that might come in. Julia will be sharing in the chat a Google form, a check-in form. We know you all registered to attend, but we just have a couple levels of tracking to make sure we know who you all are and we can stay in touch with you. So if you don't mind a little bit filling out that additional form, it's a Google check-in form. We'll share it about 20 minutes in the chat. And then as we go through, feel free to ask questions in chat, and then later on we'll pause a couple times to address those questions. And at the very end, we'll have a Q&A session. As time permits, we'll have you maybe, unmute yourself and ask some questions that way. But if you don't mind, just staying mute for now, and then also just using the chat feature for questions or comments as we go through. Is anything, Julia, that I forgot or we feel good about?
I think that about covers it. Thanks, Carrie.
Okay, all right, so we're gonna go ahead and get started. So again, the topic for today is, and I'm already frozen. Okay.
I think you're all good now. I see
you. In advance?
Not yet. Maybe stop presenting and then represent.
Okay.
Just
sorry, everybody.
Slideshow.
2 minutes in, and we're always having already having some problems. Okay, sorry about that, everybody. Let me see if I can get this going again. Okay, are we back on?
Yes, we're back on.
Okay, sorry about that. Hope that is an indication of what's to come for this evening here. Okay, so we are here. Okay, here we go. Fingers crossed we'll be okay. So again, the topic for today is career virtual tools and tips. So what we really want to focus on today is an overview of the career centers and San Jose State's career resources that we have to offer students, graduate students in particular, and looking at what are the virtual tools, clearly because you are remote students, and right now we are all working remotely in a virtual environment at San Jose State. So we want to focus on the resources and the tools that we offer to you in the virtual environment. We also want to talk a little bit about how you can access our services, like I mentioned, how to schedule appointments, and then how to find out about events. We have events, in addition to the Get Career Ready events that Julie and I have mentioned, we also have a series of events at the Career Center, like job fairs, employer information sessions that you can access virtually via Zoom and through Handshake. And then we also want to talk a little about some tips that you can start thinking about to get yourself ready for your first year of being a graduate student. So we're focusing on tips and tools, mainly around some of the Career Center apps and resources that we have to offer. And then towards the end, we'll take, as I mentioned, take time for some questions. So, okay, starting here is here's kind of the main things that we are offering right now in the virtual environment to all students. So clearly to you as remote new graduate students, international students, but also to other students even here in the area, because most of the campus is closed at this time. We've converted most of our services and resources over to a virtual environment. So here's some 3 main ways you can interact with us. So we have one-on-one sessions where you can connect with me or other career counselors to do career coaching. That might include things like I mentioned, like career planning, resume writing, searching for internships, preparing for job interviews, internship interviews. There's a one-on-one sessions, typically about a half hour, and I'll show you in a couple slides in how you can make those appointments. So we have one-on-one opportunities for you. Of course, the time zone, it would be a little bit of a challenge, to be honest with you. Most of our appointments are Pacific time, daytime, and early evening here in California Pacific time, but hopefully we can figure out that to work with you on a one-on-one way. And then we have a lot of different group sessions or workshops or presentations this fall. So we mentioned that Way to San Jose Get Career Ready. We have 2 events coming up for that, but you can also attend many other virtual workshops and presentations. So we have job fair success workshops, resume writing workshops, networking tips workshops, job search workshops. We have a virtual interviewing workshop coming up soon. And I'll show you how to find out about those, mostly via Handshake, our app for events and information about our career centers. So I'll show you how to find out about that. So we have individual, group, and then we also have virtual job fairs. So the Career Center at San Jose State traditionally had done job fairs in person for many, many years, of course, and now we've converted to all virtual environments. So all of our job and internship fairs are virtual. So for those of you remote students, actually this, outside of some timing issues, probably working out to your benefit right now because you'll be able to attend those fairs even remotely. And again, I'll mention how you can find out about those fairs, how you can register and sign up for them. And we also have a series of information sessions by our employer partners. So they sign up to talk with students about their company, their organization, their opportunities, and it's good networking, a good way to find out about employers here in the Silicon Valley, upcoming opportunities. And then we have a new series called Employer Insights. We're actually interviewing some of our key employers. Like we just had an interview with Cisco, for example, last week. Some of representatives from that company talk about who they are, what they have to offer for our students. So those are kind of the main things that we're offering right now for students. And I'll show you how to find out about this information and how to make those connections as you go through your first semester here with San Jose State. Okay, appointments. So career counseling, if you go to the Career Center site, if you go to down a menu under students where it says career coaching, you can find out about how to sign up for individual appointments. You can also go into Spartan Connect, which is where you make appointments with your advisors, your academic advisors or faculty advisors, for example. Spartan Connect, also known as EAB system. So you can go on there and find me, for example, and schedule appointments with me for individual, again, career advising, resume writing, interview prep, so forth through Spartan Connect, or just go to the link here on the Career Center website. Right above that, you see a link that says grad students. So I'm right here. We have a designated landing page on the Career Center website for resources just for graduate students. So tips and resources and events just for graduate students. So when you come to the Career Center page, you drop down students. Here's where you find out about the career coaching and career counseling. Right above that is our grad student landing page. So check that out to find out more about what we offer just for graduate students, in particular around your career planning and helping you set your career goals, etc. And then on our Career Center website is sjsu.edu/career center. We have 3 main modules. So in addition to that drop-down area that I share where you can make appointments and so forth, this is how our site is organized. It's under explore your options, build experience, and launch your career. And what's sort of featured in there is ways to explore your career, do things like take career assessments to learn more about who you are, to explore career options, learn more about resumes, CVs, cover letters, ways to build experience. So while you're a student at San Jose State, what things can you do to build your skills and experience? So we have some tips and resources, plus a action plan for how to build experience for graduate students. So it has a checklist of things you could do each year while you're at San Jose State to build experience and build skills. And then we have a Launch Your Career section, which has information about how to prepare for jobs, how to search for internships, how to write your CV or resume, how to prepare for interviewing. So those are the three main sections. So explore, build, and launch. And that's all, just right on the Career Center webpage. And I'm gonna go into detail a little bit more about some of the apps and tools that we have within those key main three areas. So on the launch section, the Launch Your Career, I just want to highlight that we have guides there, and these are downloadable PDF printable guides that you can access at any time on the Career Center website under the Launch Your Career section. And there's a job and internship guide. So it has tips on how to search for jobs and internships, how to do networking. Doesn't mention it here, but we have a section on how to develop and improve your LinkedIn profile, maybe how to prepare for networking events or employer events. So that's the job and internship guide. We have a resume cover letter guide that has tips on how to write your resume, your accomplishment statements, and also resume samples by program or major. So you can look up your engineering program, your software engineering, for example, and there's resume samples in there to give you some ideas, plus cover letter samples. And then we have an interviewing guide. Again, PDF, downloadable. You could take a look at it. It has common questions, behavioral questions, how to prepare for an interview, what to do after an interview, how to follow up, what was some etiquette, interviewing etiquette, so forth. So these are all on the Career Center website under Launch Your Career. So these are things that I would recommend that, let's say you want to meet with a career counselor to review your resume or talk about internship search or maybe prepare for an interview. It's a good idea to take a look at our guides first, read through them, prepare, take a look at some of the samples. And then when you meet with me or one of our counselors, you're prepared to have some questions and maybe have a resume draft and so forth ready to go. So these are there for you. Hopefully you'll check those out. Okay, so I want to spend some time now really getting into what we were mentioning in our description of this webinar is what are the tools that we offer to students? What are our career apps or online tools that we offer to all of our students? And I'm going to go through and talk a little about each of these and then point out, excuse me, some features, things to think about as in particular as graduate students that you might want to start really thinking through your first year as first-year graduate students. You might have watched our video series that we posted on the Welcome to Graduate School Canvas course. It was in the Career Development module. I think it was one of the last modules in the orientation. And there was a series of videos in there that went more in depth into these apps. So today I'm just going to touch on them. It might be a review if you've already reviewed those videos on the Canvas course orientation, or maybe you had a chance to view those videos and this would maybe an introduction to you. Just wanted you to know that what's available and how to access them and how to find out about these apps. And in particular, these are very important. Again, while we're in this virtual world, these are ways to do some networking, to prepare for interviews, to work on your resume in a virtual format. And particularly if it's difficult for you maybe to attend some of our events or to schedule appointments, a lot of this is self-directive, self-driven that you can really work on your own, in addition to seek out help if you like. So how would you find these? So back to our Career Center website. So earlier I was over here under the drop down. I showed you about how to find appointments, how to find the graduate student page. Right over here is resources. So this drop down menu has all of our apps and our tools available to you, plus links to those guides that I mentioned. So we're going to talk about Handshake, Focus 2, SJSU Squared, Vmock, and Big Interview. I won't get into LinkedIn Learning today in this webinar, but as a student at San Jose State, you have access to LinkedIn Learning courses, which are free courses. Well, they're free to you as a student, put together in LinkedIn. So there are ways to brush up on skills, develop those skills, etc. So while you're a student, take advantage of the LinkedIn Learning courses that you can sign up for through LinkedIn. And all of these, FYI, just like you did today, you need to use your single sign-on, your SSO, to access any of these apps, including the LinkedIn Learning. So make sure when you want to use any of these tools that you're signed in using your San Jose State single sign-on. Okay, first off, Handshake. I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to take a little sip of my tea. It's 7:30 something p.m. here in California. Not that late at night, but both Julie and I have worked full day starting early this morning. So we're drinking tea and things here. So I'm sorry if I have to pause to do that occasionally. Okay, Handshake. This is one of the most important things to start off with if you haven't done so already, is to go into Handshake and create a profile. All students, once you're registered and signed up for classes, you're automatically imported into Handshake. And we get the information through the registrar's office. So essentially, you just need to find yourself in Handshake and then create a profile. And it has a profile feature in there that's kind of like a miniature LinkedIn, where you can put in a photo, you can put in your degree, or actually imports automatically your degree program, but you can put in your courses, your projects, some of your work experience right there on the profile. Plus there's an area where you can tell a little bit about your story, your background, and employers can see this. Our employer partners that are signed up on Handshake can see your profile. So if you haven't done so already, go into Handshake and create your profile. And from there, you can access our online database of career opportunities just for San Jose State students. So these are part-time jobs, full-time jobs, internships, campus jobs once we reopen the campus, jobs on the campus, as well as volunteer opportunities. And the benefit of it is it's just for San Jose State student. So in other words, it's not an open job board like an Indeed or even LinkedIn for that matter, where anybody can come on and look at the job posting. It's just for San Jose State students. And our employers are targeting, looking for our students in particular programs like engineering programs, for example. So be sure to sign up on there, and you can search the database for opportunities. And you can narrow down your search, and I'll talk a little bit more about that, by your program, your major, your job type, your location, keywords to narrow down your searches. And it's also where you can follow employer events. So you can look for employers that are signed up. You can find out if they're going to be doing an information session, what kind of opportunities they have upcoming, plus find out about the virtual job fairs and the workshops, and sign up for upcoming events through Handshake. So it's very important to, again, go through your single sign-on. This slide shows how you can access it through the one.SJSU. It's an app there on that page, or you can go directly to the Career Center site and use that drop-down menu that I showed you as well. So 2 ways to access Handshake, but definitely get in there. I would routinely check it if I were you as a student, finding if you just want to find out, even if you're not currently searching for a job or internship, but just kind of get a sense of what's being posted there, what's out there, follow it and the employers that are on there, check out some of the events. So make it part of your routine where you're going in and checking out what's happening on Handshake and making sure you're keeping your profile up to date. And one of the other things that's important to do in Handshake is there's a career interest survey when you sign up, and ask you a series of questions about what are your career interests, what are you looking for, and that will automatically sign you up to get job recommendations. So you can put in the types of jobs and internships you're interested in, even future oriented. Again, if you're not currently seeking, then you'll start to get emails that alerts you about opportunities that fit your interests. So after you set up your profile, take the career interest survey, and that will allow you to kind of keep up to date with what are some of the new opportunities that are being posted. And, you know, again, following some of your top employers that you're maybe targeting, and you can sort of follow the postings they have over time. And then when you're ready, you kind of have a history of a sense of what they're looking for. And then when you're actually ready to start looking for a job or internship, be sure to use the filter features on Handshake. So if you go to jobs here and then filters, you can first select full-time, part-time internship, on campus, etc. And then you could filter from there based on various criteria. So the location or keywords. You can also search for OPT, CPT opportunities. And you hear that you can see different keyword features there. So make sure once you start using Handshake for job search or internship, you use the filters, and you can save your searches and go back in and update them over time. So again, set up your profile, do the career interest survey, start following employers and events, and then when you start searching, use the features for, the filtering feature on there to narrow down your searches. And it's pretty effective. It's a really pretty good filter, I'd say, compared to some of the other job boards. I think it does a pretty good job of narrowing down based on what you're really looking for. Okay, so one of our other apps is called Focus 2. And this is really designed to help you do like career research or career exploration, and also do things like career assessment. So I don't know if any of you ever have taken a career assessment somewhere as a student, or maybe on a job, or maybe you've taken a personality assessment or interest inventory or a skills assessment. Those are all available. Those types of assessments are all available in Focus 2. So you might want to do like a little check-in with like your interest. There's a career readiness assessment there to kind of help you see where you are in your skill development based on core competencies that employers are seeking. You can also get some guidance around your career path. And then there's a feature in there called What Can I Do with This Major at San Jose State? So you can look up your program like software engineering, and it'll give you occupations and job titles of different ways you can use your graduate degree. It's not job posting, but it's what's called occupational information. So it would be salary data, outlook and growth data, what kind of skills would be required for an occupation, what are professional associations that might be connected to that occupation. So it's really like a career research exploration tool. And it's, again, self-directed, self-guided. You can use it on your own. You can also take the assessments and connect with a career counselor if you'd like to talk a little bit more about your results, maybe your interest inventory, your personality style, or your career readiness. We can meet with you to talk more about that. And there's also a feature in there that helps you track your activities. So maybe you're involved in student activities or clubs or orgs, for example. You can input those into Focus 2 and keep track of those extracurricular, co-curricular activities. So I'd highly recommend it. I always think it's important to be well informed into your career field or your occupation, know what the going salary is, know what the outlook and growth is. That means like over the next 10 years, what are the projections? This is a high growth, slow growth, medium growth occupations. How many anticipated openings will there be by region? It is based on US, and particular, you could put in regions by state, like California, for example. So it is US focused, but it does give you the outlook and salary information, plus helps you stay well informed into your career field or your industry. So check that out. And then again, any of these apps, if you go on and you have questions you're not sure, you can always just connect with, I'll show you how to connect with the Career Center general email box, or you can always send an email to me as well. Okay, some of you might have already seen some of these apps. This is one of our most popular. It's called Vmock. And this is where you can upload your resume. So it's a resume tool that provides instant feedback and ways to improve your resume. So we in the Career Center are available to help you with resume writing. We have the resume guide that I already mentioned. This is just something that's also available. Let's say, maybe say you just quickly want some feedback and it's on a weekend and you're not able to connect with the Career Center, or you have an upcoming job application and you just want some quick feedback. Or maybe if you haven't written a resume in a while, or you want to convert your resume to like a US style resume, this will give you a lot of feedback around resume mechanics and resume formatting and style. So this is it just gives you some tips on how to improve your resume, and also it looks at like core competency areas. Are you including transferable skills and competencies? And it gives you a score on 3 main areas. So your presentation, your competencies, and your action. Is it action oriented? Do you have results and quantifiable results and actions? Are you including core competencies? And what's the format? Are you allowing enough white space? Is it well organized? Is it easy to read? Do you have clear bullet points throughout? Are you using bold for certain headings and things like that? So it's a good way to get sort of the feedback around the mechanics and a little bit about content. Here's some tips. So it only accepts PDF. It really looks more for simple formatting. So 1 column is best. Don't add a lot of images or graphics or tables. This is really advisable too when you're applying for employers, particularly large employers that are using ATS or applicant tracking systems. I'm sure most of you probably heard about those, where it's an employer that your resume goes through almost like, I like to think of something like a scanner, where it's looking for like keywords, buzzwords, keywords, skills, job titles, etc. It goes to the ATS system before it reaches a person. Applicant tracking systems really tend to like very simple resumes without a lot of images or special characters. Same thing with Vmock. It's really looking for kind of a simple, clean resume. So you could also use Vmock in preparation. If you know you're applying for a job or internship where the ATS system is going to be used, you could upload in Vmock to get some improvement around that. And it says here on this slide, don't stress about the score. It gives a number score like 65, 55, 85. Try not to worry about the score. It's not a grade. No one's grading. They're not giving a B or C or D and A. Just look for the feedback. And then the great thing is you can make the edits and you can upload it again and then see if you improve in the feedback. And you can also request counselor feedback. You can find me on there, for example, through Vmock. You could run it through the system and then send it to me through Vmock, and I can also provide some feedback too. I always think it's great to also have a person look at it. So when you're working on your resume, Vmock is a great tool, online tool for you, but definitely have people look at it also. So I'm available, others of us in the Career Center, maybe faculty, or maybe you have mentors that can look at your resume. I highly recommend that you have people, humans, look at it as well to give that kind of additional level of feedback. And that's usually more the nuances and some of the wording and making sure you're targeting it at the jobs and internships that you're applying for at the time. So that is Vmock. Okay, and then one of our other popular apps is called Big Interview. This is a online tool designed to help you prepare for interviews. And it helps you prepare for interviews for jobs, internships, or even graduate school. Let's say maybe going forward, you're going to pursue a PhD after your graduate program at San Jose State. So it has different types of interviews and question sets that you can prepare for through the online tool. And it's really designed for, like it says here, you can sort of read about interviewing advice. You can Google it and get some tips on interviewing. But the Big Interview is really designed to give you that hands-on, practical practice, I guess I'm trying to say, through the app. And it's tailored by industry and different career goals and job levels and experience levels. So how it works is you go in and you can view tips first. They have curriculum in there where you can view tips on how to do interviewing. And then you can, from there, select different types of questions, common questions, behavioral questions, industry, career field questions, and then actually practice through the website. So what happens is a person pops up on the screen and asks you a question, and then you set up a video yourself responding to that question. And then little tips will also pop up for you how to respond. And you go through a series of questions and you can review back their questions and how you responded to them. You could re-record them. And one of the best features here on the Big Interview is once you've gone through maybe a series of questions and in your practice mock interviews, you can share them with others. So you can send a link to career coaches, faculty, mentors, family, friends, and they don't have to be signed up on the Big Interview. They don't have to be students of San Jose State. You just send them a link through Big Interview and they can go on and actually watch that interview, see responses, fill out a form to give you feedback. So it's really a great way to do some practice, particularly now, right? We're all in this virtual world. All of our interviews, for at least the time being, are going to be virtual over like Zoom, for example. So this gives you that chance to really see yourself, hear yourself, responding to questions, get others' feedback. And they also have other curriculum on here, like curriculum for how to negotiate job offers and salaries. They have a video series on that, some job search tip videos. So it's very comprehensive, in-depth website. And I highly recommend that even if you don't have an interview like coming up right away, just get on there, get familiar with it, start viewing some of the videos, and when you're ready, start practicing. And then you can connect with me. I can look at your videos. Plus, we do one-on-one. That could be a one-on-one session too. We do one-on-one mock interviews with students as well. Okay, so one of the really other important things, in addition to like working on your resume and preparing for interviews and working, to search for jobs on Handshake and attending events, is networking. So while you're a student and really going forward in your career, building up your professional network is, I would say, really one of the most important things you could do to help yourself with finding opportunities, maintaining relevancy within your career, always staying up with professional development, et cetera, is building up a professional network. And really highly recommend right now, again, in this unique situation we're in, is how do you connect with others and differentiate yourself as a student or in the job market And a great way to do that is really through developing your network. So one obvious tool is LinkedIn. So I mentioned earlier, we have the LinkedIn Learning available. Through our job and internship guide, we have tips on how to do LinkedIn profiles. I'm available along with our other staff in the Career Center can meet with you to review your profile, help you work on LinkedIn. So definitely make sure your LinkedIn profile is up to date. You can do, as you probably all are already doing, some networking through LinkedIn. For example, you can go to the San Jose State page on LinkedIn and search for alumni there, start doing some messaging and outreach as a new student, start making those connections through LinkedIn. So definitely do that. Highly, if you're not doing that already, highly recommend spending some time on LinkedIn. But we also have an additional tool for you called SJSU Squared. And this is our mentoring and meetups app. And this is designed to connect students, potential mentees, with alumni or other professionals, potential mentors through this platform. And the benefit of it is the alumni or other industry professionals like Friends of San Jose State who've agreed to sign up in the app are saying that they are available to meet with students. So LinkedIn, you can message alumni and other professionals and ask to connect with them, maybe do informational interviewing, have some questions for them. And you may get some responses, you may not. But the benefit of the SJSU Squared is these alums and other industry professionals that already said, yes, I'm available. I want to connect with students. I want to help students. And they might be available for informational interviewing. They might, in the future, meet you for coffee in person when we're all back to live life. They might come to some of our panel events. So they've already agreed to support students. So I would definitely take some time, sign up on that app. You might start with what's called quick connections. So this is when you're going to outreach to an alum or other professional on the app and maybe just have a few questions, like questions about launching your career, or maybe a few, resume tip advice, or, maybe tips on how to get started with internships, or maybe you ask them about where did you get started? What was your first internship? Ask them about their career, their career path. So that's quick connections. So that's the best way to get started. And those relationships could build more into a mentoring relationship, right? Where you might have more of an ongoing dialogue with someone over time, maybe eventually meet them in person. But I would sign up there first, start with quick connections, another way to build up your network while you're a student. One of the things I always mention to students is take advantage of being a student. So professionals and alumni tend to really want to help students. So if you package your messaging always as, I'm a student, especially right now, I'm a new graduate student in XYZ program, I'm doing some career research, I'm trying to gather some information, trying to get some advice, and that's a really great entree and opening to your networking. And professionals tend to say, oh, this is a student, that's great, especially if it's an alum. Oh, I went through that same program, I'd love to give advice or connect with you over Zoom for 15 minutes and answer some questions. So really think about that as kind of a core piece of what you'll be working on in terms of your career development. Also on SJSU Squared, there's two new features. So in addition to the networking pieces and the outreach and the quick connections, there's also new groups forming. So they're a little bit focused right now on alumni groups, but we're hoping to grow those more into like interest area groups. So take a look at those as they grow. You might find some like affinity or career interest groups to join. And then one of the kind of most interesting, kind of coolest things they've added is a projects feature. So this is where alumni, particular, maybe other professionals that are on the app, are going to start posting projects or short-term, or even what we're calling micro internships, like short-term internships, where they're looking for graduate students to maybe work on a short-term project, and it will be all through SJSU Square. So you can search for project, find out what's posted, connect with that alum. Great way to gain some experience, especially right now while we're in a little of a holding pattern and some internships in certain situations. So check out that. Again, the groups and projects are new, so be patient with it. It's kind of building out, and into the fall semester we should have more opportunities there for you. So definitely sign up on that and get active there, and on LinkedIn for sure. I would spend a lot of time working on the networking piece ongoing in your career, but right now as a new student. Okay, do we have any questions? I was just going to kind of shift into talking a little bit about events, but are there any, Julia, like anything about any of the apps or resources or tools that, like any themes or anything that's popping up that maybe? I'll take a quick sip of my tea.
We have one question. It's not about a particular tool that you discussed, but just while it's up here, someone's asking, does the Career Center have a visa advising service? I'd like to know what types of visas are available for international students when they find a job or internship.
Okay. We do not do the Career Center, but in a couple slides in, we refer to the ISSS, which is the International Student Services. They have trained international student advisors. So we work with them very closely, but what we typically do is refer you to work with an international student advisor first, and then come to us when you are ready, when you have clarity around your OPT, your CPT, your internships. Then we help you more with like the application and the search and all the resume and all of that. But it's not our area of expertise per se. So there's a slide here that will show you how to get connected with the ISSS. Okay, we'll forge ahead. So we were already a little bit after 8, so we'll make sure we've got some time at the end for any other kind of career-related questions. So this slide is just to show you a sampling of some of the virtual job fairs that we have. The Career Center I mentioned earlier on just converted what had been traditional in-person job fairs this semester to virtual events. And it's all done through Handshake. The Handshake company itself created a whole system for university career centers to start to offer their job fairs in a virtual format. So it's very new. We're just started out. We've had one fair. This slide is slightly out of date. You see something saying opening, but some of these have already opened. But we've already had our part-time job fair. That was our first event. And next week we have our undergraduate STEM and our graduate STEM. And the graduate STEM is invitation only. So as new students, you would not qualify this year. It's the qualifications are a 3.5 GPA and within the second year of your program, plus recommended by the dean of your college. So that will be probably next year for you to attend. The undergraduate STEM is clearly just for undergraduate STEM students. And then we have 2 other fairs coming up, business and health and human services. You are welcome to come to those other fairs, although might not have opportunities that are particularly of your interest, but you might want to just check it out just so you can see how it all works. But the only one that's invitation only is the STEM graduate fair, student fair. So how it works is you will get notification, check out Handshake again to follow all the events. And then if you're qualified, you will get notification. And then you register for the event. And then what's brand new about this, if you've been to any job fairs, maybe at your undergraduate university, you might recall, you might wait in line and you walk up to a table and there's a recruiter there, you would bring a resume. So clearly that's a little different in this environment. So how it works is companies and employers and recruiters reserve time slots, and students, if you're qualified and it's open for you to attend, you can reserve time with recruiters. And so either as individual or group sessions where you would be able to ask questions, the recruiter would give like a quick presentation about their opportunities. So that's happening this fall. Again, most of you wouldn't qualify for the graduate STEM fair until next year, but this is a heads up for you. This is how it works. Again, by next year, fingers crossed, we're all in person. We'll go back to some in-person job fairs, but we might continue to have some virtual job fairs. We'll see how this all plays out, but this is sort of how it's presented for this semester. But just check out Handshake, and I'll show you how to find events on Handshake and just see what's coming up. And if it's open to you, you might just check it out, for networking purposes, or just to sort of see how it works. So then, in the future, you're kind of ready to go with a virtual job fair format. So that's just rolled out this semester. And every semester we have a series of job fairs based on major or career interest area. So the spring we'll have a whole other series of job fairs as well. And most likely they will be virtual as well. Here's a sampling of our events calendar. So our virtual events and webinars coming up. So this was starting at the beginning of the semester, so we're already into September. But this is a sampling of kinds of things that we offer in terms of webinars and events. So some of these will be repeated again throughout the semester or repeated in the spring. So we started out with how to use Handshake. So if you want to do more in-depth with Handshake, we do what we call afternoon snacks, which is like an app. So a little review of our apps, short review of those. We have throughout the semester counselor coffee chats, where that's all the career counselors log into Zoom. Students just log in. It's a casual conversation. You could ask questions, get to know us, find out about upcoming events. We have those throughout the semester. We have resume workshops, job fair success workshops. So what's coming up in October, it looks like most of these are past, but in October, on October 1st, I am doing a big interview afternoon snack, more in depth about how to use the big interview. It's during the day Pacific time, but everything will be recorded. We post those on the Career Center website. Also, we have a YouTube channel to the Career Center, and you can check out our videos there if you can't attend live. We have a virtual interviewing workshop on October 5th. That will also be recorded. We have a leadership career conference. You can check that out. So if you're interested, you can sign up for that event. And then again, more of those career counselor coffee chats, the casual conversations with our Career Center. So again, everything's on Handshake. Take a look. You can sign up, register. If you can't attend live, just if you have any questions, just let me know, or you can contact the Career Center general email box to find out when you can actually view the recordings. So sometimes takes a little time because we edit the recordings and then post them through YouTube. So they're not instantly available. So you can always check in to find out when the recordings of the videos will be available. So it's just a sampling, and I just want to let you know that we've got a lot going on for you as students, and we hope that you'll take advantage of attending events or attending recording of events if you can't make them live. And then to find about any events, get in Handshake, go to the events tab here, and then you can search for events to find out of upcoming events, search for different types of job fairs, career fairs, everything is posted. And we also post events outside of San Jose State. So if there's an employer, and in fact, just today, we were just sort of talking about in our staff that because of the environment now and that's happening, a lot of employers are choosing to do their own job fairs, just because of the challenges of doing all these different virtual events through career centers at universities. They're doing a lot of their own events. So we will be posting employer job fairs. We've always done some of that anyway, or if there's something of interest happening in the community that's career related, we will post those on Handshake. So it's not just San Jose State events, it's sort of what's happening with employer partners or other community events that you can also sign up for. Okay, back to the question we just had a couple of minutes ago about the International Student and Scholar Services, also known as ISSS. I often forget what the ISSS stands for, but okay, it's Student and Scholar Services. We just call it ISSS. So this is your International Student Services Department. And if you haven't engaged with them yet, I would highly recommend getting connected with them. They have experts in there, really nice, cool advisors, great people to get to know. We interact with them on a regular basis in the Career Center. So there's their contact information here. And you can go to their website and connect with them, and you can make appointments directly on their website. So we already had a question earlier. So again, I would suggest start with them, get clarity around your visa, your OPT, your CPT, your internship timing, what's going to happen in those pieces, and then the Career Center then support you kind of going forward and those other aspects of your career development. And then they also have, speaking of events, they have a workshop coming up, F1 Employment Opportunities, September 30th, 3 to 4. So you can sign up through their events page. Registration is required for that. So if you have any questions about F1, I would definitely go to their workshop. And I would imagine they're doing the same thing as recording their webinars, just as most of us are, so that students in different time zones can access those. But that's September 30th. So that's how you engage with them, sign up for their events. I do believe they do send out some newsletters, and they have some social media posts. So make sure you're signed up with them in general and following what they're doing and kind of their events and workshops and other things that they have to offer to students. Okay, just a couple of minutes. I was just this is sort of a little bit of a summary here, and then we'll have some other, is there any other questions that maybe are coming up, like in regards to events or?
We have a student asking, where can I find part-time job opportunities for international students? So maybe that workshop that was on that previous slide would be a good answer to that.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I would start with that workshop. They would be posted in Handshake. Typically, my response would be, for international students to find part-time jobs, ideally through the university. Because of COVID-19, some of those opportunities are a little bit limited because of the closure of departments and offices and services on the campus. But going forward, that's what we recommend for part-time jobs for international students is on the campus. But there are some virtual opportunities, maybe doing research. For example, we have students working in the Career Center virtually. They're managing our live chat. They're helping with our webinars. So I think some departments do have remote virtual opportunities for international students. So check Handshake, attend the workshop for the ISSS. And then for things like research or TA positions, those are good part-time opportunities for international students through the university. Check your department. So your faculty, your department office, your advisors, those aren't always posted on Handshake or elsewhere. Sometimes it's just within the department. So they might send out, looking for students to do research or TA positions through just their student listserv, or they might just have faculty share it. So I would check with your department. And, working at the university is ideal. We do have sometimes other opportunities for students to work through like an employer partners, but typically as an international student, most likely the campus opportunities would be the best place to start. So again, attend the ISSS and reach out to your department and check Handshake. And if you wanted to, feel free to connect with me, because sometimes I might hear about something and, I see an email or post and, happy to share with you. So connect with me offline if you'd like to keep in touch about that. Anything else?
One question came in, will there be any coding interviews during career fair or career fairs?
Oh, coding interviews. That I'm not positive, but I'm inclined to say maybe not. I think because of the limitations in time, I think they're pretty much more like getting to know you. Hi, I'm the recruiter from Marvell. I'm here to share with you about our opportunities. What questions do you have? I think that's generally what my understanding is. As far as those type of interviews, I think those would be like next phase follow-up pieces. I think that it's going to be a little more like introductions and sharing of information, and more like a traditional job fair, but in a Zoom virtual format. Anything? Okay. All right. So this is just kind of a summary. These are like tips. So we've gone through tools and resources and what the Career Center has to offer and some of our apps. And these are things for you to think about as a first-year student, graduate student, and it kind of includes some of the apps and some of the things to think about. What we recommend that you do right away as a first-year student. So of course, I've talked a lot about Handshake. So getting on there, getting your profile, attending information sessions, attending any job fairs you're qualified for. So getting that profile updated. So that's sort of like step one. And then I mentioned, the focus two, which is what could I do with this degree or major, doing that career research, maybe some assessments to sort of do the exploration into your career, occupation, where you are, and help you kind of think about maybe skills you need to develop. And then the networking, that's just huge. So LinkedIn, SJSU Squared for alumni connections, informational interviewing. I've kind of hinted at that a little bit, but that's when you interview a professional in a job or career that you would like to enter. And you ask them questions about their career, how they got there, where do they do an internship, what's their first job out of college, what is their career job like now, what's a typical day like. So just ask them about their job, their career, what tips and advice they would have for you. And it serves a dual purpose. It's you developing your network, and it's also you doing career research and getting more informed about the career field or industry that you're hoping to enter. And you could do that through LinkedIn or through SJSU Squared, or your own contacts that you may have through faculty or your past work experiences, et cetera. And then we highly recommend you get involved in student clubs and organizations for professional development, and also get some leadership experience. So, join a club or volunteer to be involved, to plan events, serve on, in a leadership role in a club or organization. I know you're thinking, well, I'm remote right now, but it's actually probably could work out right now, with the exception of maybe some time zone challenges, because most of the clubs or organizations that I'm aware of are remaining active. They're just doing virtual events. So they're bringing in speakers, they're bringing in panels, they're doing professional development, and it's a virtual format. So you should still be able to get involved with those and joining them. And then when you're able to come to campus and be a part of the in-person community, then you're already connected to those clubs or organizations. You've already maybe ready to step up to a leadership role, already in a leadership role. Most employers are really seeking students who've had some leadership experience. So organizations and clubs are a great way to do that. Plus more networking opportunities, all of that. So check those out. go to the College of Engineering or your college website, and usually clubs are listed there. Plus, go to student involvement. So search through the San Jose State website for student involvement, and all the clubs or organizations are listed there. So that's the way to, to build your skills and experience. So you see at the top is explore and build. Those are the two things to think about this year. How do I explore and, opportunities and careers, and how do I build the skills and experience? And then joining professional associations as a student is really important. You usually get a student discount. Some of your faculty professors will recommend or require you to join a professional association, maybe as part of a class or a project. Take advantage of that. Again, get active, attend conferences, webinars through your associations. Take advantage of the discount rates you get as a student to go to conferences and become a member. And then when you graduate, you already have that community built up, and you've already been going to the conferences, you've already been making those connections. We've already talked about LinkedIn, working on your profile, getting that up to date, targeting it now to what you're seeking. So some of you may have had professional experience related or similar before you became a graduate student. So now it's like reviewing your tagline, reviewing your about section, your skills on your profile, and really targeting and focusing on like kind of where you're headed now in your career. And then I would just like to mention thinking about volunteering. There's lots of now even virtual volunteering opportunities to help you build experience and build skills. And a great site to check into that is idealist.org. So you might even think about doing a little volunteering while you're a graduate student to build experience and get more networking opportunities. So this is just some key things that we think about: getting engaged with some of our apps, doing some networking, doing some professional development, keeping involved with associations, student clubs, orgs, all of that. And LinkedIn, you can also join groups through LinkedIn. So checking into that and keeping that network going. Okay, so we've got just a few minutes now, and I just have a couple more slides to share with our contact information. Is there any questions about any of the apps or resources, or just kind of tips or things that we might, other career questions? So Julie and I, as Julia mentioned, our next event, October 15th, is a panel of SJSU alumni. So you could even put some questions in the chat now that we will capture and forward to our alumni panelists. So hopefully we can, have some of those questions ready for our panelists. So even if you don't want to chime in now with your question, just career-related questions, either about the presentation today or what you'd like us to ask of our panelists coming up at our next event. And they're all former graduate international students who are now working professionally and have agreed to serve on our panel. So
that's a great idea, Carrie. Yeah, if any of you do have questions for those students, feel free to put them in the chat. I do see one question for us right now. The Graduate Career Fair is invitational, and in order to be qualified, a student must have passed at least 12 units, which would mean that first-year students couldn't attend that career fair that you mentioned, Carrie.
Right.
Maybe could you speak to a little bit about why those requirements are there, and maybe what other opportunities graduate students could have to get internships as international students?
Okay, so the history behind that is a couple things. The employers that came to that graduate STEM fair, not the undergraduate, but the graduate, typically looking for students about at the end of their program to hire for full-time opportunities. So it came a little bit from the employer side, saying we'd rather have second-year students or students at the end of their program. Number one. Number two, when it was in person, it used to be filled when we literally had students winding around outside of the building, lines and lines and lines. So we decided to do a couple different things. As second-year students, because of the requirement or the request of the employers, and the 3.5 GPA, that was the decision made by the deans of the colleges, saying that that was their criteria. So we put that together in a way to kind of minimize numbers and kind of meet the needs of the employers. So in the meantime, all the things we've already been talking about, you could come to some of the other fairs. I would come to the employer information sessions, searching through Handshake, and then developing your network. All the things really that we're talking about already today would be sort of the resources, and connecting with faculty to find out about where students have interned in the past. I always think is a good place to start. find out about, or asking even classmates or others in your program, where have others interned, and then start your own list of like your top 10 employers of where you would like to intern, and start doing some networking through the apps that we've mentioned to find out about their opportunities, and, really targeting and customizing your application to those top employers.
We just had a new question come in. Are graduate students able to attend undergrad job fairs, or are they limited?
They're limited. So you can't do the undergrad STEM fair, but you can come to the business fair. Just they give priority towards majors within that program, but there should be space. I would just check to see, there should be some space to sign up, maybe a little bit limited space to sign up to visit with some of the employers at that, like the business fair, for example.
I think that's all the questions in chat. Oh, here's one. Can I do internships after I graduate? I am graduating this fall 2020 as a graduate student.
Oh, okay. But our assumption that was most of you were on this Zoom call were new students. So I apologize if this was mostly focused on that, because that was our targeted audience. Yes, you can. Usually there are some internship opportunities within 6 months after graduation. Some employers will hire, like basically spring, you might be able to do an internship. There's typically a few. And just as we're just touching on a few things, this is the general email box, Career Center at Career Help at sjsu.edu. That's for your general career questions or about any of the apps or any of the things that maybe I've missed. Plus we have a live chat during our business hours, so you can connect right here through this icon if you have any questions about how to make appointments or anything that we've talked about today, or just other questions.